Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I am bringing a first time video to my channel, which is a book haul. This is the first book haul I'll be doing on my channel. Basically because I usually just buy like 1 or 2 books a month, so I feel like I don't need to do a haul for them, but maybe I will just like start collecting them and then like do like, I don't know, a 6-month haul or something like that. I decided to do this haul just because I have a relative amount of books that I recently acquired or was given, and so I thought it was worth it to kind of give these an introduction. I think it's about 8 books or something like that. I might have had some more recent purchases, but then I don't remember them anymore because they might already be my shelf. But so yeah, here we go. The first one that I bought is actually books that I already read. I did not own it, and so I wanted to start buying it. I only bought the first book so far, to kind of spread out the expense, let's say, and that is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, the first book in the Mistborn trilogy. This is the, I think the 20th anniversary edition, so it's a special edition, and I absolutely love this edition. I think it's very beautiful, and so basically the reason why I haven't bought Mistborn up until now is because I've been debating which edition I wanted, whether I wanted the UK edition or the US edition. I think with Brandon Sanderson is one of the few authors with which I debate which ones I want. For example, Stormlight Archive, I have the US editions because I think the US editions are nicer than the UK editions. But on the other hand, with Skyward, for example, I have the UK edition because I think the UK edition is nicer. And with Mistborn, I kind of felt myself stuck. I like certain things about the US edition, I like certain things about the UK edition. And in the end, I just went with the 20th anniversary edition because I also really much like this one. I mean, I think the third one is one that I like least in this edition, and that's the problem I've had with Mistborn so far. There's always one book in the series that I don't really like in the edition, but so yeah, I decided to go with this one in the end. So The Final Empire, I definitely also want to give it a reread. I've reread it already at some point, but I think that is also already 5 years ago at this point, so I really want to get back into it at some point because I really like these characters and this story, so I really want to rediscover it and really like know every single detail about it again, you know, because now I very much know the main story again. But basically I should maybe give you some info. Yeah, see, this is my first book haul. I don't know what story, what to do in a book haul clearly. So The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, the first book in the Mistborn series. The Mistborn series is it was long considered his best series, but now he's writing a new one which will probably oust that one as his best series. But so it is a story about basically a world in chaos, so it's been ruled by this sort of bad guy, and we are kind of following sort of like the uprising, you know, the rioting, the overthrow of the government by this group of disparate characters who are called Mistings. So Mistings have the power to control certain elements. So if they ingest a certain element, they can, for example, pull objects towards themselves or push them away from each other and things like that. And there are a host of these elements, and basically a person who can control one of these elements is a Misting, but a person who can control all of them is a Mistborn. And since this is called the Mistborn trilogy, we'll be looking into some Mistborn as well in these trilogies. But I absolutely love this trilogy. It's full of wonderful characters, wonderful plot twist, and yeah, it's really a great book. It's got a super good magical system, which is what I really love and what many people really love about Brandon Sanderson. He has a very good talent for developing magical systems, and so Mistborn is the first one of his books in which I fell in love with with his characters and with his magical systems. So definitely give it a go if you haven't yet, because I promise you, you will be wanting to read a lot of Brandon Sanderson afterwards. Second book in the same edition that I bought is also the first book in the series. This one I haven't read, and that is The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. I'm picking this one up because I've seen a whole lot of fantasy recommendation videos, and this series is usually in there. Basically what I know about it is it's supposed to be a sort of heist story in which have a crew of thieves or something like that trying to steal something, I'm guessing. I really didn't look too much into it because I like to go into my fantasy relatively blind, so I'm really looking forward to giving this one a go as well. Then we get to a book that I really wanted to read for a very long time, and I really should be getting to it because the author of the book is actually going to give a talk in Belgium, and actually in my city of Leuven in September, and I should really buy the tickets now that I think of it. And I realized that I read only one of his books and I actually didn't really like that one, but it's also like the one book of his that nobody ever really talks about. You know, they talked about it when it came out, but it's never really mentioned, so it's not one of his best stories, and so I really want to give Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close by Jonathan Safran-Foer a go, because I absolutely adored the movie when I saw it, and I really want to read the book as well. I know a lot of people in Belgium had to read it at high school and that they totally hated it, but usually you hate every book that you need to read in high school, so I don't think that has anything to say for the book, so I really want to give it a go and see what I feel about it, because I think I'll absolutely love it. But so Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close is about a boy who loses his father, and his father used to create all these sort of like quests for him and things like that, and they usually involved him having to find things but also having to talk to people, because he has a bit of a difficult time talking to strangers or expressing himself, and so he would usually have to do that in his quests. And so there was this final quest that was left to him before his father died, and the book is basically about him trying to finish this quest now that his father is dead. So the next one is this little thing called A Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. Now, I don't know too much about this story, I just know that I've seen it around on a lot of different like recommendation videos, recommendation posts and things like that. It was also very cute because you could buy it in 3 colors, and naturally I went for my favorite color, which is yellow. But so as far as I know from like the background, like the back cover, how do you call that, the back flap, whatever, but from the back of the book, it's basically a woman who's been in the same job for a super long time. She's never had a boyfriend, she kind of just lives to go to work and to stay at home afterwards, and she's not really anxious to get this changed at any pace. It's a very short book, and like the back doesn't really give me any indication of what the stories are going to be about for the rest of it, but so it's somewhere in the 100 pages, so I definitely want to get going to it soon, because it won some sort of a prize apparently. It says a literary prize winner, but I don't know which prize that is, so I'm very much anxious to get into it and know what this is about and why people are talking about it, and hopefully at some point I will be talking to you guys why you should be reading this one. Now we're getting to 2 books that I received from a friend. So every year for our birthdays we basically each of us buy like a packet of book for a certain amount, and then we kind of roll the dice, let's say it like that, on who gets which package. And so I got 2 books from a friend of mine. The first is Juliet Naked by Nick Hornby. Don't know too much about the story, don't necessarily want to know too much about the story. I read other Nick Hornbys and I really liked them, and my friend who gave me this book is very much a Nick Hornby fan. So I'm expecting something somewhat light, somewhat contemporary, but usually has a very nice cast of characters in his story. So I'm really looking forward to diving into this one. So next up is the second book from this friend, and this is also a book that she's been recommending for a very long time and that I've actually also wanted to dive in for a long time. And so now that I finally have it on my shelf, I hope that I will finally also get around to do it, but like a lot of the unread books on my shelf are kind of a counter indication for that, but I will be trying to make this more of a priority than them. And that is Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. I watched the movie of this, I saw the movie in cinema, and what I basically remembered was like a dark family story in which there was like a girl with a dark family history, and then she's trying to move on from that history, but this kind of comes to haunt her again. But luckily, as you can tell, I don't know too much about it anymore, which I prefer of course when going into a thriller, because like yeah, usually the twists and turns is what makes a book, yeah, which what basically makes a thriller enjoyable. So I've forgotten mostly what it was about, so that would be ideal for getting into it. I know that my friend also totally thinks that this one is better than Gone Girl, for example. So I absolutely loved Gone Girl. definitely remember Gone Girl much better than I remember Dark Places, but so I'm really looking forward to diving into this book and seeing also, you know, what my experience is with it, because I like the movies a lot, but usually I don't like thrillers, but so maybe I will like these books because I did love those movies as well. But so yeah, I'll let you guys know when I get to them. Next we're getting around to a book that hopefully will also be on the Booker Prize list, because then I have another reason to prioritize it, and that is the Lost Children Archive by Valeria Luiselli. Not entirely sure how to pronounce it. I know nothing about this book. I know it was nominated for the Women's Prize. I know that there was kind of a video that I saw from Eric Carl Anderson, I think his name is, in which he and a friend of his, they were kind of discussing which books they wanted to see on the shortlist for the Women's Prize, and they really talked up this book. I've forgotten everything about what it was about, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to it because they spoke so passionately about this book. I really want to dive into it as well, and I think it's a gorgeous cover. I've been seeing it a lot on like recommendations as well and things like that, so I hopefully will also be enjoying it. In the same vein, it's another book that I know nothing about because I hope it's been clear I like to go into my books relatively blind, and that is On Earth We Are Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. I think it was his first literary novel. I think it's not his debut, but it's like his debut novel. I think it's a gorgeous cover. There's another cover for it which is also very nice, and I don't know what it is about, but I've heard that it's very moving and very lyrical, basically is what I've kind of intuited about this book. And so it's also relatively short. It's I think around the 200 pages, so we'll definitely be getting around to it hopefully sometime soon. Definitely if it's gonna make it onto the Booker Prize, then I will definitely prioritize it, even though at this point I still need to read 1.5 books for the Booker Prize from last year. Yeah, forgive me. And then the final book that I picked up is Northwest by Zadie Smith. Don't know too much about this book, except that it's set in London, and that's definitely for me already a reason to pick it up. I think it's based around like 4 different characters or something who live in London, and yeah, I basically go to London almost every year, so I live in Belgium. It's relatively close to London, so I have the wonderful opportunity to be able to go to London every year and not having it cost me a fortune. And so I know London pretty well, and so I'm also looking forward to being able to kind of situate myself in the story a lot, you know, to be able to recognize the places where they're going to and stuff like that. I've heard it's a very good book. I have another Zadie Smith on my shelves, which I also haven't read yet, so shame on me. But yeah, this is the final book on my book haul. If I've purchased another book in the meantime, yeah, that's too bad, but I cannot remember. So yeah, I know one. Forget it, that one isn't as visible as I thought it was. I thought it was just standing right behind me and like loose from the rest, but it isn't, so it's gonna cause too much chaos in my bookshelf if I remove it. But so yeah, this was my book haul for like, I don't know when this started, probably somewhere in June. But so yeah, I've had a bit of a splurge where it comes to books recently. I guess because I've been reading so much, I've been wanting to buy new books as well. Which isn't a good thing because I still have so many books on my shelves that need to be read, but so yeah. I won't blame myself too much for it. I love the fact that I'm reading a lot again, and if this keeps me excited for reading, then that's just it. And as long as I can afford it and don't make myself bankrupt on this, like I'm fine with it, you know. I try to make sure that what I purchase is something that I'll actually like, and so I don't try to just buy anything. You know, I try to buy books that I know have been highly recommended, and that the source of the recommendation is also quite reliable to me. And so I hope that most of these books will stay on my shelves, and so that they are worth the investment. But so yeah, see you guys for the next one. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. It will really help my channel out. I don't have a fixed filming schedule, so I film whenever, I post whenever. I'm sorry, deal with it, please. Bye.